What's good? I know, out of all the fights that I've missed in the last month, here I am talking about Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. Well, it was the biggest fight of last weekend. Really, it's the biggest fight in a couple months. Probably the most talked about fight at least since what? Wilder Fury? Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones exhibition match got probably more buys than that did, if not similar. It did over 1 million buys. It's gonna do more than Spence Garcia. I ordered it, man. I was excited about that fight. But by far the most talked about fight was Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. And I'm not gonna talk about the fight because what are you gonna talk about? A YouTuber been training for about a year, I've heard, and against Nate Robinson, who is really, in my book, an NBA legend. I was a fan of his, and I actually was curious to see how he would do. And I gotta say, this is one of the worst fights that I've ever seen. Just seeing his footwork and the way he rushed at Jake Paul with his hands down, and hearing Snoop Dogg clown on him for wearing basketball shoes. Like, man, someone give my nephew some boxing shoes. Snoop Dogg is a hoot on commentary. But I'm not here to disrespect Nate. Did I say Nate Dogg before? Big fan of Nate Dogg. I'm not here to disrespect Nate Robinson, and probably some of you will misrepresent my smiling and my laughter throughout the video. That's just the way I am. But I'm not laughing at Nate Robinson. I am laughing about his boxing ability and the fact that he did get into the ring in a pay-per-view in the co-main event. So, is it me, or if I'm going to pay $50, are the people that are fighting in this event expected to have at least a little boxing skills? Am I wrong for that? And an argument that people want to say is that every man stepping into the ring deserves respect. And I don't think Nate Robinson deserves disrespect. And I have laughed at those memes. A lot of them are really mean. I've heard he's a good guy. I don't want to say anything mean about Nate Robinson. But he looked terrible. And he actually did a disservice to boxing by stepping into the ring with no experience, and people are paying to watch that. I'm sure a lot of Jake Paul fans paid to watch him fight Nate Robinson. So I don't know how many people did, but I'm sure more than a couple thousand of his fans paid to watch Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. And I was like I said, I was curious about that fight. But I'm struggling with this notion that every person that gets into the ring deserves respect. Yes, you're putting your life on the line, but you want to compare Nate Robinson to a guy like Orlando Salido or a guy like Oscar Valdez or a typical journeyman or gatekeeper, Gabe Rosado, man, or Joe Smith, who does work a job, who still works a construction job and manages to be a world-class fighter, or the taxi driver in Tijuana that still gets into the ring. He's fighting for his life. And I know a lot of people have compared Nate Robinson to some of the journeymen in our sport who do have very basic boxing ability. Look at the first opponents of anybody, of Canelo, of Floyd Mayweather, of Adrian Broner, anybody. Those guys had several jobs. Probably those guys trained. When they get out of work, they get paid. Here's actually the difference. They get paid $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to fight, and they fight whenever they could get a fight. They still have to work. They're not out here with slam dunk contest trophies playing boxing, and I think to me that's the difference. Jake Paul and still Jake Paul, these YouTube guys, Logan Paul, KSI, they're out there playing boxing because they're not out there making a sport out of it. They're not trying to make a living out of it, and that's fine. But that's to me that they're playing boxing. Nate Robinson came out, and I've heard he's the one that called out Jake Paul. And if you're gonna be calling out some people to fight, you better know what you're doing. And clearly he didn't. Nate Robinson went out there and he tried to play boxing, and he went out there with a guy that has been training for some time. You could tell that he's been training for a little bit. He's been training for about a year. Like I said, I heard that he's been training for about a year. He looks in great shape. He's very big. He's a big guy, and he was just a lot better. Nate Robinson can't fight, man. He should never put on boxing gloves again. He should never step foot inside a boxing ring again. And does he deserve respect for what he did? No, I don't believe so. What he did in that fight, any one of us, guys, really, any one of us could have gone off the couch, stepped into the ring, and gone laid out the way that he did. Only he's doing it as a famous NBA player with multiple slam dunk trophies, slam dunk contest trophies. He's already famous. He's already rich, and he went out there to play boxing in a co-main event of two legends. So, no, I don't think he deserves respect for stepping into the ring. My respect for people that get into the ring are people that are fighting for their lives, that are really fighting to make a living, and that respect the sport. And I don't even think Jake Paul respects the sport, but I think he respects the sport to have enough training before he steps into the ring, because he at least knows what he's doing. And before any of you want to say, oh, you're not the one stepping into the ring, Jake Paul would knock you out. Yeah, I have respect for the sport enough for me not to get into the ring. I have respect for myself enough not to get into the ring and get laid out like Nate Robinson did. I have enough respect for boxing to not do those things, and enough knowledge in my head to not step into the ring because I know that I could get hurt. And like I've said before, I said in my Jermell Herring video, when he quit because of his cut, I said, yes, I've stepped into the ring, and people always want to say, people always talk shit when they've never stepped foot into the ring. I've taken my share of ass whoopings, guys. Believe me, I've done that. I've stepped into the ring plenty of times. But it's not a badge of glory stepping into the ring and getting beat up. That's not something to be proud of. Getting knocked out like Nate Robinson did is not something that he should hold his head up high for doing. It's like CM Punk stepping into the octagon and getting beat up, getting choked out as a famous wrestler, getting so much attention, getting more money than anyone else would in their pro debut. That is not something that I should respect CM Punk for doing, and it is not something that I'm going to respect Nate Robinson for doing. So, thanks everybody for watching. I'm sure I'm going to get some heat for this, but so be it. Peace. What do you guys think?